SNA law offices to moderate this session, along with our panelists, Mukul Shastri, General Counsel, Cube Highways, Sushil Judd, President and General Counsel, India, AG&P Pratham, Sachin Mishra, General Counsel, Tata Consulting Engineer. Over to Gunita.
Good afternoon, and thank you for the introductions. So our panel today is Powering Progress, Navigating Challenges and Opportunities in Infrastructure Sector. So Mukul, starting with you. According to you, what are the legal hurdles and challenges that you see or face in your sectors, such as highways, roads, that you would want to throw light on?
Thanks, Sunita. First of all, thank you for having me. And it's a very interesting question that what are the hurdles that we face in the sector? But before that, I would like to understand the economics of it. And that is very important to understand. And as I rightly said, that it is the backbone of Indian industry or the Indian growth story. So why it is so? So very recently, a couple of months back, Mint did a story that this current government, Modi 3.0, is going to or has made a blueprint for investing almost 100 trillion rupees in the infrastructure sector. Now, what does it mean, 100 trillion rupees? What is India's GDP right now? It is approximately $4 trillion. And if you multiply by 86, which is the exchange rate, it is around 380 trillion rupees. So 1/3 or rather 28% of that money they are going to invest in just 5 years into this sector, into infrastructure sector. And why? The reason is this, that the multiplier factor of infrastructure on GDP is around 3 to 6. Which means 100 trillion rupees invested into infrastructure will give a fillip to the GDP by 3 to 6 times. So 300 trillion rupees to 600 trillion rupees. So right now we are at 400 trillion rupees, our nominal GDP. If we can go to 1,000 or 1,000 trillion rupees in 5 years, so we can become a $10 trillion economy in 5 years. So that is the possibility of this investment in infrastructure. And that is why it is called the backbone or the engine of the Indian growth story. And that's why it's a very important sector to be in. Now, but then what is the problem in the sector? Now, if it's such a great sector, and obviously India being a country where we have 140 billion people, 1.4 billion people, 140 crore people, a small landscape where we have so many people here, infrastructure makes a lot of economic sense. In Africa, it will not make that sense because Africa is 10 times bigger than India with the same population. So the cost of investment will not give you the same return. So India has a lot of potential naturally in this sector. But the problem is, as Gunita has rightly said, the legal hurdles. The hurdle that our ease of doing business, or rather the ease of enforcement of contract. I don't know, we are below even the developing economies of the world. I don't know, we are 160 out of 162. I don't know what number it is, or 150 out of 160. So we are too below. And why our contract enforcement is not that good? Because our disputes get stuck. So biggest legal hurdle is whether it be arbitration, whether it be litigation, we're generally stuck for long times. And you see a normal Google search will see 13,000, 15,000 crores of claims are stuck in these processes. So that is where we have to do and find out solutions. And I always say that now infrastructure no more remains an engineering problem or a finance problem, because we have engineering solutions, great engineering minds. We have a lot of finance solutions available. Money is there. Investors are ready to invest into India. 100 trillion rupees investment is there by central government, state government, domestic private player, international player. The problem is legal problem now, or regulatory problem, and that is why we have to find some solutions of that. So this is what I'll start with.
I think, Mukul, you bring out very important points. Sachin, to you, Mukul has already highlighted about the legal hurdles and the litigation and how the projects are stuck. And he also made a point that now we have the engineering. So I am very much minded to ask you, as one of the leading crew in all the projects, and from a lawyer's perspective, this is the most disputed issue. Whether it is of projects of ports or energy or even gas distribution, land acquisition, I think beats all the other challenges. They're one of the most time-taking challenges. Now, Mukul, you take care of international investment in a sector such as roads. Of course, you come across both sides of the coin, of where transactions happen flawlessly and where transactions get stuck due to various reasons. What, according to you, can contract structuring and dispute resolution mechanisms be improved at for better execution in India?
Sure. So what Sushil has laid down, I guess this is a problem which you can, not only city gas, it can be energy, it can be road, all these problems, land acquisition, approval delay, utility shifting. So it is very infrastructure centric problem. But then again, as you rightly pointed out, Gunita, contract. Now, see, ultimately what we do, every single thing is just Indian Contract Act. Basically, whatever, whether it's an SPA negotiation or a concession agreement negotiation or a vendor EPC contract, O&M contract, every single thing just boils down to the Contract Act and how well you have understood the nuances of Contract Act. So that's why contract is very important, and that's why you have to understand the Contract Act, what your rights are, what is anticipatory breach, what is all other Section 73, 74, and all that stuff about breaches and penalties and LDs and stuff. So you have to have a good understanding of those things as a legal person, and then you see what judgments are there in your sector and in general also. So because contract drafting is the base, and that is what I personally feel, at least in road sector. If you see how it starts is that you will initially have a DPR, a detailed project report. The government will come with that, and then on that basis, you are going to enter and negotiate. So when this DPR is there, it is the business people who will go and meet the NHAI or other government clients, and then they will agree that, okay, this is how we'll make the road, or this is how we'll make any other thing, energy project this is how we're going to do it. So they will have this business understanding of things, and whatever this detailed project report is there, on that basis, ultimately the concession agreement shapes up. That, okay, this is what your scope is, this is what you're going to do. Now, the DPR discussions, whatever you have done, that never becomes part of concession. On the contrary, concession agreement has a clause that whatever prior discussions are there, they all now are redundant. Now,
so
this is
absolutely true.
Now, the problem is in the DPR, what the business people have understanding that, okay, the government is going to do A, B, C, and then I'll do D, E, F. Now, that is never reflected in the concession agreement. It will only say that, okay, you have to do this D, E, F thing. Now, unless they have done their ABC thing right, I cannot do my D, E, F, or I will do it at a higher cost. Now, the problem is when they go back to bureaucrats after the signing of concession agreement, obviously no bureaucrat in India is going to say that, okay, yes, this is what is allowed to you and this is what we should give it to you. Because that kind of entrepreneurial bureaucracy, I have not seen much. There can be some exceptions here, there. But in general, I have not seen bureaucrats taking such bold decisions because obviously they have their own fears and that means they have their own logics. So the problem is now in this contract, if it is not incorporated that well, then you are just gone, because then you go litigate, you go arbitrate and do very, very difficult. Now, same thing, and it will delay your project also, and it will create uncertainty. So therefore, that contract drafting has to be really, really clear, and you should know that, okay, these are things I really want to be incorporated, and very difficult from government to negotiate with government. We will always either take it or leave it. Nobody's going to, we can argue here, but there it's just to sign the paper, dotted lines. But then you build it down, then the other things, then go have some insurance, pass it on to some EPC player, or find some other solution, some solutions. But contract is very important, as you said, and that's why it is very important. Just one more, last 10 seconds on dispute resolution. That also is very, very crucial. The problem is now with the new arbitration thing that we are discussing, that the government wants you don't want to go and arbitrate, or more than 10 crores only you can, less than 10 crores only you can arbitrate, more than 10 crores you cannot arbitrate. Now those things even create more problem in industry, and it creates more fear psychosis in industry, because dispute is, well, if I cannot get a window where I can go and get my dispute settled on time, then this is a very sorry state for a private player.
I completely agree with you, Mukul. You've pointed out some very, very important points, especially regarding dispute resolution. If you don't have a forum and if you have to fall back on the traditional dispute resolution through litigation, then for a lot of the transactions, we are going to see the opening of the floodgates, because a lot of the concessioners in future are going to have a confused legal regime to figure out the resolution of their disputes. Now, Sachin, Mukul made very important point, right path, right? So we have the last 5 minutes. I have one last question for all of you. Quickly, your thoughts on that would be very helpful. How do you think the scope and the role of GCs has changed in the country?
Fantastic question, Gunita, and very right, pertinent question. So GC's role has been evolving over the period, and I feel that in the next 4-5 years, with all this legal tech, AI, and all that stuff, the GC's role is going to evolve even further. Now you see that GCs are there, some of them are board members also, a few otherwise having very, very important stakes, and their sign-offs are required for any big business decision. So their roles have evolved over the period. And there are two reasons why it has been evolved. Number one, the business nowadays is far more complicated. It is far more regulatory oriented. Like whatever Sushil said, all these things are regulatory problems. And whatever Sachin even said, very interestingly, that there are two types of approach to things. There's a government approach and a private approach. So, and especially infrastructure is always government things are there. So therefore, the role has become more strategic, and this because business has become such. And second is, gone are the days when legal we can simply see the law and tell that this is what the law is. Now we have to find some intuitive solutions to the business problem, and that is what the role of GC is. And the top GCs are only those who can really give those solutions to business people without flouting any law within that regulatory framework. That this is how you can approach to it to a certain things. So that's why the GCs also
very well said, Mukul. That GC is required to give solutions. That is the role now. Sachin.